like and subscribe. Non-Americans of Reddit. What is something about America that surprised you in a good way? The amount of unused/untouched countryside. First time in the US, my brother and I, from Norway, went on a road trip around New England and upstate New York. By chance we spent our first night in Mystic, Connecticut, a year or so after the movie Mystic Pizza. It was the night of my 23rd birthday, and we ended up in a small bar full of locals, pretty much the only tourists/out-of-towners in the place. During a trip to the bathroom, my brother had told the bartender it was my birthday, and when I came out the entire bar was singing happy birthday to me, and I was served a giant piece of cheesecake. I was completely taken by surprise, and it was a great experience. Most Americans are very friendly to strangers in my experience. We had 3 great weeks in court, MNNE and New York. How much cereal selection you have? I was surprised how friendly Americans are in general, and the willingness to help with accurate directions. Free refills at restaurants. As an American, it really felt nice reading through comments about America that aren't just about how terrible it is, and how the entire country and everyone in it is a joke to the entire rest of the world. It's a real nice breath of fresh air. My BF is non-American, and he says it has the ability to get food at any hour. Before COVID, I was friends with an exchange student from South Korea. Luckily, the family he was staying with were kind enough to let me take him out to experience some of the American teenage life. Took him to see a drive-in movie, eat at dinners, bowling with friends, go to football games and parties. He loved how teenagers could just go out as friends and do so much and be so close. Said that it was just like the movies. Aussie here. Everyone has always been extremely polite and friendly to me each time I have been there. We like accents d'adora, ed. Canadian here. The rest of the world for some reason considers us friendly, and I don't know why. I was shocked when I visited the US, and so many people there were actually very friendly, a lot more so than here in Canada. How friendly people were, even in big cities like New York City and LA. Although I think my British accent may have been a contributing factor lol. The situation that sticks out the most was me and my other British friend were standing in line to get into a club in LA making casual small talk with each other when an American lady turned round and was like, "Oh my god, are you girls British? I love your accent." We spoke to her for a bit, and she said she knew that EJ so would get us in VIP for free. She was so lovely, but my sketch radar did go off a little. But we accepted her invitation, and had a great night, and woke up alive the next day. The nature. I moved from Europe to Tennessee, and the amount of animals and insects I have seen here, that just don't know it even exist back home amazes me. Fireflies and armadillos are my favorite, even though I have only seen dead armadillos unfortunately. I went to USA as an exchange student. Loved how the teenagers were so open-minded and the people were really nice. Aussie here. People complain that Americans are too loud, but that can actually sometimes be a good thing. There's been so many times when someone is being annoying in public, but nobody here says anything, because we don't want to start a scene. I feel like an American would just tell the annoying person to shut up and actually fix the situation. As an American looking through this, I'm surprised by the amount of "they're really nice." What made us become perceived as mean and cold? Just curious. Well, the entire internet has us pegged as gun-loving lunatics that shoot at all our problems, and don't have enough brain cells to act like a half-decent human being, so that's probably it. Philanthropy and the idea of paying it forward. Americans have an extremely individualistic society. At the same time, American B/millionaires are the most generous. The Middle East and Asia are societies that revolve around family and community, but you don't hear of Saudi or Chinese millionaires building funds to encourage B/millionaire philanthropy, Warren Buffett, or dedicating years of research to building toilets aimed at revolutionizing water sanitation. I've seen latrines contaminate well water, and I couldn't be more excited that Bill Gates gives a crap and understands the implications of wash, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Going back to the pay it forward mentality. On a trip to Goodwill, while I studied in the US, the lady who was standing before me at the register asked the cashier to include the item I'd put on the counter on her bill. I was looking the other way and didn't hear her make the request, so when my turn came to pay, I was informed that the lady who just left the store had already paid for my item. I was dumbfounded. I ran outside to thank my anonymous benefactor, but the lady in question just brushed it off as nothing. "Just pay it forward," she yelled from across the parking lot as she got into her car. That was my first time hearing this phrase. I later noticed other people doing similar acts of kindness. The father of the girl I was nannying, paying for the order of the next person at the drive-thru. Joining Reddit years ago, I remember someone telling a story about a benefactor helping them when their car broke down, and being instructed to pay it forward, or browsing through a sub called Random Acts of Kindness. Back home, we'll occasionally buy lunch or a nice pastry for a homeless person. I've seen my dad contribute to someone's grocery bill when they appeared short on change, but I never once witnessed these random acts of kindness like you have in the US. People will help those who appear to be in need, but not pay for a random person's meal/coffee/etc. when, for all they know, that stranger could be better off than them. The idea that you're just doing this random act to brighten a stranger's day, knowing that they'll likely return the gesture to another person, and so on and so forth, genuinely amazes me. Edit. Thank you for the award. We'll pay it forward. Alcohol is so cheap for a developed country. Consumer goods are also cheap. I live in one of the bigger cities in my area with about 2 hours of a large Canadian city. When the Canadian dollar is strong against the US dollar, we will see a very large influx of Canadians on the weekends. On day outside a very large liquor store here in town, US, I saw a couple with Manitoba plate get out of their vehicle as I was walking it. I made it in first, and was checking specials posted near the entrance. The man walked about 3 feet in the door and just stopped in his tracks. I noticed his eyes pretty much glazed over at the sheer amount and variety of beers/wine/liquor/whiskers/cordials and the amounts this place had in the prices. I heard him say, "No wonder they're all alcoholics down here." This is a running joke with my family. I am usually the guy that tourists come to ask for questions. I love it though. My wife, after quite a few times in New York City, asked someone, "It was great to meet you. Can I ask you a weird question? Why did you decide to ask him?" His tattoos. Totally American feels. Ha. How friendly they are. I'm an Aussie who lived in Atlanta for 2 years, and I was blown away how friendly Americans were. They were constantly striking up conversations in public, and it forced me to come out of my shell. I credit my confidence and being able to talk to anyone about anything down to my time in America. You can turn right on a red light if there is no oncoming traffic. Most people turn right on red if there's oncoming traffic as well. I'm impressed with how independent some people are. Like fixing cars and computers. The traffic, or at least to the places I went, it was like, wow. There are almost no cars around here. And the fact that there are buttons, so you can tell the lights when you want to cross the road. Things are cheap there. I like the stuff I get from my taxes in Canada, but sometimes cheap stuff is nice too. Even with the loss on exchange, certain things are significantly cheaper. I have an uncle on the border who goes into the States once a week to get a case of beer, a pack of smokes, and ammo for his hunting rifle, all from the same Walmart. God bless America is basically his catchphrase. Everyone I met in America were extremely polite and helpful. A lot of my friends were telling me all sorts of stories of how bad Americans are to Europeans, etc. That was literally not the case. I would recommend. A couple of years ago my family, Asian, was driving in America, which movies and the internet told me was full of racist hicks. At a gas station, I could not figure out how to pay by credit card. Gas is not self-service where we live, and could not get it to work. A middle-aged couple, both obese with the guy, having a long beard, got out of their pickup truck which was full of gun stickers, and walked up to me as I was getting frustrated with the machine. The first thing that came to my mind was, oh, we're gonna be driven out of town. The woman then demonstrated how to pay with the card, and when that did not work, accompanied me inside, so I could pay at the cashier. The man struck up a conversation with my dad, and gave him tips on the drive, saying the route our GPS was showing was, and to use another one instead. That day I learned that I was in fact the bigot for judging these people too quickly. How kid-friendly it is. 99% of bars and restaurants are genuinely happy to accommodate kids. The National Park Service's Junior Ranger Program, summer camps. People were way more polite than expected. Literally everyone I met treated me like a long-lost friend, and my god, if you've never tried an American burger and milkshake, make it your first priority upon arrival. And don't get me started on Texas BBQ. Food. I know they have a lot of food that I wanna try. America does something to food. We do not care about calories at restaurants. We will near inject straight butter and fat into food. Yeah, early to 1500 calorie plate at a burger restaurant. Horrible for you if you were not exercising enough to justify it, but god, is it good? The education. I know a lot of people hate how the system is, but the type of education is something I could not have gotten in my home country, as well as the infrastructure, and how huge and diverse it is. Southern hospitality. Spent some time in Dallas a good few years back now while working. Almost every person I met was so amazingly polite. Being British, we notice this. Close bracket. Even when confronted by the Karens and Shadows of the world, could not do enough to help people, even when it was not their job. Just because it was the right thing to do, the good thing to do. They take that seriously. Terror vertical bar, or did back then anyway. Have not been back in a while. I'm from Russia. I lived in America for a month, and the most surprising thing was how much flags of their country they have. It's very patriotic. Nature in the PNW. Asian here, and the thing that surprised me the most when I visited the States, LA, and Portland, is the food. My god, it's insane. I'm a pretty big dude, I lift a lot, so naturally I eat a lot as well. Out here I could normally have 2 servings of any meal and I'll be fine. Food in the States, on the other hand, is on an entirely different level. My uncle took me to IHOP once, and I could barely finish the food he ordered. I don't even think it was that much. He just got us both a comically large drink and an entree, and that was basically what I ate for the entire day. Food. We have dumb restrictions for trans fat where I'm from. I'm gonna up my own body the way I want, thanks. Jim, that fried chicken between 2 donuts. Average Americans are lovely people. The obtrusiveness of Americans abroad seems largely a function of not being in their home context, not because they are overbearing loud mouths. They really are not. I think obtrusive Americans also stand out more, and a certain type of tourist tends towards that kind of behavior. Some tourists are less obvious, but of course they are less likely to be noticed, and less likely to be remembered. How social and friendly so many of you are. It was in Florida. They always talk about how friendly the people in Canada are, but as a Canadian I personally had better experiences talking with people in America than here. Nobody speaks a word here, but when I went to America, if there was somebody sitting next to me on a bench in the mall, they would say hi or something. The National Parks system. Genuinely surprised you cared. Unlimited refills for soft drinks. And you're generally speaking a very sociable bunch. Very chatty. Which is good. It wasn't all shooting, mugging and robbing. All these memes make me so confused. Not even Florida is like this. Just cause some people had been a tiny crazy back then doesn't mean it's the land of wild. Not even Florida LMAO. 1. Living there does actually feel like being in a Hollywood movie, depending on which state. 2. Seeing a cop IRL scared the living out Tammy, even when I know I did nothing wrong, which always made me drive/behave super careful. 3. I became an advocate, where I side with USA in friends/family discussions and arguments, whom now believe I have become a westernized suck-up tool, where in fact I just love and respect the country at which I spent 6 years pursuing my higher education degrees. God bless USA. The nature, national parks, Americana, road trips, friendly people. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.